Hello, this is Jared from Commit Quality, and in today's video we're going to go over members in C#, and we're also going to start looking at the actual documentation for .NET to help guide us through these kind of tutorials and show you what you'd probably want to look at in the real world while dealing with things. So before we go off topic, what are members? So members is just the group name that points the data and to the data and behavior of a given type. To access members of a given type, you just use the dot or dot notation to give you what its operations are. So that may not make sense. So let's just actually write something up to quickly discuss what we're talking about. So I'm going to say int num. And what I want to do is I want to get the maximum value of an integer. Now I could go away and Google it and just set that to whatever it would be. But instead, I'm actually going to use the member of the integer type to get me the max value. So I'm going to say int, and I said use dot notation, so use dot. And here it's telling us the members we've got. So I've got max value, min value, and then you've got some methods on here as well. So if I say, okay, I'm going to grab this max value property, what I've just done, I've set this integer to its maximum value. So if I do a console.writeLine and say num, what we should see now is this number variable has the value of the max value of an integer. Run that through, and there we are. We have it output here. But how did I know that? How did I know that this integer type had a member on it where I could say, okay, get me the max value property? Well, I looked at the documentation. So if I open this up, what we can see here is the documentation from Microsoft. I'm on version .NET 6. You can change this to whatever version you're at by selecting drop down. And I searched for int, so I could say int here. Of course, it's in 32. And it'll take us right here to the int 32. And it'll give us a bunch of information about what it is. So it tells us the definition of it. It represents a 32-bit signed integer. It's got some remarks. It's telling you how you can instantiate an integer as well, which is exactly what we've done here. We've declared the variable and signed it a number. But what you also see inside here is on the side, you have fields and methods. So here we've got the fields. So we've got max value and min value, which is what we've just tried using, where we got the max value. Of course, min value would do the same thing. And if you click onto them, it even gives you examples of what it's going to do. So this field value will say it's the minus of the maximum value. It goes all the way down to the minus. So we can assign integers as -1, 2, all the way up to this value here. On top of that, even though we haven't discussed methods yet, which will come in a later video, the documentation is also showing us, all the methods we have on this integer type as well. So we talked about parse before. You can convert an integer to a string by adding the toString method. So what I could say in our code is int.maxValue. I could then set a string of num as string, just to name it something, and I could say num.toString, and there we are. That's just convert our integer into a string, and I could output this here, and it's going to output the same thing on the screen for us, but as a string behind the scenes. It's no longer an integer anymore as well, which is very important because we've changed the type to a string on this. So we've created a new variable with the type of string. We've done this by looking through the documentation and seeing the members available to us. So let's not go off topic with this. I'm going to delete this line, but let's do one together then. So let's say we want to do a char. So I'm just going to put a comment in saying char, use the documentation to find its fields and methods. So the members that it has available. So let's write a char first of all. Char x equals, and I'll say 1. So we've got our character x, which is set to a value of 1, which is a character, remember, not an integer, because it's inside those single quotations. And now I want to use the documentation. So let's go back and see how we can do this. So I'm using the version of .NET 6, and I'm going to type in char and search for that. And here we've got system.char, so let's click on that. And straight away it's taking us to this, is explain some examples saying what we can set a character as. We actually did this one when we set it to a digit of 1. But what we've also got here is a bunch of methods on the char type. But instead of that, I can go into fields. And once again, you've got max value and min value. And it says here the value of this constant would output a hexadecimal. But also, I can go into methods now and look at all the different methods we have. So we can say, okay, is it a number? So it indicates whether our Unicode character is categorized as a number. We've got things like is letter or digit, which would probably work the same. A digit would work as well, indicates whether it's a decimal digit. So tell you what, let's take this newfound information from the documentation and let's put it in. Let's say, okay, so I believe is would return a Boolean, but let's double check. So you've got is digit here, indicates whether specified. And if you go to the example, you can see here is digit will return an output of true or will return a false. So what I can actually say is we know it's going to be a Boolean. So I'll say bool is digit equals char dot is digit. And we got X as our variable name. So we're saying is this character a digit, yes or no? And we'll do a console.writeLine. We'll take this one from up here. We don't actually need this anymore, so let's get rid of this. And we'll say console.writeLine. Oh, we'll say console.writeLine is digit. Perfect. So let's run this and let's see. Is this character we just defined a digit? Yes, it is. Now, let's just make a return false. So what I can do is let's close this down. And what we'll do, we'll return this as F instead. Hit the execute button. And now we'll see that it's returned as false because it's not represented as a digit. But what we could do instead, let's find the method that checks if this is a letter. So we've got is letter here. Of course, it's going to return the same thing. You can see returns true or false. So if I go back into this and say char is letter and run this now, we should see returns true because, of course, F is a letter. Awesome. So this is understand a little bit about the members, how you can look at fields on a specific type, how you can look at the methods associated to a specific type as well, and you can start playing around with it. So maybe as a little challenge, you could look into Booleans. As always, if you do have any questions or comments, please drop them down below. A like and subscribe is appreciated. I've also enabled super thanks, so if you do want to help support my videos and the running of my channel and website, you can drop a super thanks. As always, thank you for watching. Have a good day.